The following program is not a New Channels production, and New Channels has no responsibility for the content or opinions expressed therein.
This here, up here. Thanks, Terry. Yes, certainly.
I'd like to call the meeting to order. Jim, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance, please?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Barb, would you call the roll, please?
Councilor Pierce?
Here.
Councilor Ridgway?
Here.
Councilor Smart?
Here.
Councilor Warner?
Here.
Supervisor Rose?
Here. Okay, the purpose of this meeting tonight was called by me to readdress the issue of an EDZ zone. As everyone probably knows, we voted this down at our last town board meeting, February 10th. I just wanted to give everyone an opportunity to just take one last look at this on the board because of the controversy surrounding the issue. And we're going to discuss it here in an open forum, but we are not opening the floor to debate or any comments from the public. Everyone had that opportunity at the public hearing. So I'm going to open the floor for discussion with the board only, and we will be discussing the issue, and if necessary, we'll be taking votes either to rescind our motion and our decision from before, or we'll leave it the way it was. So I'm going to open the floor for discussion on the board. Would anyone like to start?
Yeah, Howard, I would like to start first of all. I think that the first item of business should be that we have a motion by one of the four of you that voted in opposition to the proposed law to reconsider. The reason I say this is, being a parliamentarian, to get this issue on the floor so that our discussion and possible vote later on is meaningful. We need a motion to reconsider, and we need a second, and I would highly recommend that that be done first, because if not, I'm not sure that any action we take would be legal regardless. So I did call our attorney this afternoon, and the motion to reconsider must be made by one of the people on the prevailing side. However, both I agree that the second from anyone, regardless of what their vote was, but the original motion must be from one on the prevailing side, and that would be one of the four that voted against. So that, I'd like to have that considered first.
Okay, you're making the motion?
I can't. I was not on the prevailing side.
Does anyone care to make a motion to that effect?
I don't know if it's a dead issue at this point or not, Howard. You can make the motion, I can second it. Now, you called it. Shouldn't we have the motion to reconsider at least so that we can talk about it?
You telling me that we can't talk about it without a motion?
I'm saying that I'm not sure what the purpose of this is if we don't have a motion to reconsider.
Well, the purpose of this was to discuss it, first of all. I think if we get to a point where we want to reconsider it, then I think it would be appropriate to make the motion. And right now, it doesn't appear that anyone's comfortable making that motion that voted against it the first time. So I think maybe we'll just enter into discussion on it.
Okay. And a second point that I would like to make before the discussion starts is that, as you can see, there are a great number of people here that were not here before. It was my understanding that many people that would have been here, had they had any idea that the vote would go the other way, because at our previous meeting it had gone 4-1 in favor of. And it's my understanding that there were people who were told, basically, don't worry about it, and so they went to another meeting. Well, then it was voted down. So there are people here who would have been, I believe, at Thursday's meeting had they not been assured that there was no problem. And I would like to give the public an opportunity to speak at this time. Now, this certainly is up to the board, obviously, and this is a decision I know you made, but I think this is the most important issue that's ever going to come before this town board in our tenure. And I believe it's going to be economically disastrous if certain things happen. So I would like to give everyone an opportunity to speak, and that's the only thing I would say at this point.
Well, by the same token, the people that knew we voted down last time aren't here either, probably, because they felt the same way as the first group of people felt, maybe. But nevertheless, I don't think it's appropriate to have public discussion on this issue right now. I think this board knows the issue inside and out. There's been a lot that's been said about that we didn't have all the facts. That's not true. We did have the facts. We do know what's going on, and it was just a decision that was made last time. We're well aware of the consequences of having it and not having it. We just weren't so sure and convinced that it was in our best interest at the time, and maybe it still isn't. I'm on myself at this point, but I think that right now all we need to do is just discuss it amongst ourselves here. It's not an easy thing to do in a public forum on such a touchy issue, and I'd love to be able to go into executive session, but that's not provided for in the law, and I've been an advocate for the Open Meetings laws, and that's why we're doing this in front of everybody today. So that's where I'm going to leave it. Does anyone want to discuss this issue or make any motions otherwise?
I feel we had a public hearing, and people have also had the opportunity to call us in the intervening days. I feel anybody who wanted to say something has already had the opportunity.
So what's being said is the motion should be made to consider the EDZ proposal so that if we decide to take a vote on it.
That was Jim's understanding of the proper procedure, yes.
My understanding, there should be a motion for reconsideration, and it has to be someone that was on the prevailing side. It doesn't say the vote has to change. All it says is that it gives us an opportunity to discuss it fully, Jess.
Well, you can discuss anything under old business, can't you?
I'm not sure, because I understood that the purpose of this meeting was basically to reconsider, was what I understood, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe that wasn't the term that was used. That was
Take a hard look. Yeah.
take a hard look at. Well, okay, reconsider, take a hard look. If that be true, then the motion should be made.
Well, I'll make a motion of reconsideration of the EDZ proposal.
I would second.
Now, the town board is going to discuss.
Well, I would think that we had to vote to reconsider first, then we'll do our discussion, yes.
Okay. Would you poll the council, Barb?
Counselor Pierce,
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway,
Aye.
Counselor Smart,
Aye.
Counselor Warner,
Aye.
Supervisor Rose.
Aye. Okay, the motion is to reconsider. Would anyone like to start the discussion on that?
Well, I'll start off if you want.
Originally, I was for the EDZ, even though I don't believe in them because of what's happening in Syracuse. EDZs, for people that don't know, is supposed to give people advantage in certain areas. One fine example of EDZ loans and funds to help industry is the Fisher Body Company in Salina. They were given thousands of dollars to upgrade their plant. A year later, 1,000 jobs are gone. They took the money, moved out of state and gone, even with the EDZ. It didn't help. And but in the meeting that Jim and I went to, we were willing to talk about it, listen to it and everything, and listen to both sides of the story. And the last 30 years being on this side, on that side of the thing, I've always listened to people talking, the politicians talking how great things are going to be. It's the cities. The cities have, your bigger cities have been a good example of always expanding farther than they can control what they have to run their government. And then they start asking for help, which they are doing now. Gloom and doom, Miller Brewery, what's the reason they probably moved out of the state? They're closing down. It's probably the same tax incentives. They, in Trenton, Ohio, they got a lot of tax write-offs and stuff from the agency in Trenton, Ohio. And then they said, well, we don't have the capacity, we don't need the capacity anymore, so we're not going to open up that new plant. And here the residents, they give up all these taxes to them and all these benefits to build that plant, a brand new plant they weren't going to open. But the small community took them to court. And the court sided with the small community. Said, all right, the people give you these tax breaks, now you honor it. So they honored the tax breaks. What happens? They had to take the productions from some other area. Well, how about Fulton? It's beautiful. Georgia's half. New York State is beautiful. We got high beer tax, sales tax. We got everything working against them. Nothing too much was said to me about it until, which I would like to thank these, I did it, hire service, and on this ad here, I never get no responses from people. But when this ad was put in the paper, it saved me a ton of money, and a lot of people called me that said, this stuff's been going on for years, we want a change. And we listened to the people in the past that promised this stuff, and we have jobs for a while, then we lose them, and it's getting worse in the last 20 years. And I appreciate this. This was good. This was super. It's real good. Because the only people that called me that was in favor of it was people that got IDA money, EDZ money, and it was fantastic. But then we get into another situation here where really blew my mind last Saturday in the paper. The mayor says he don't want Fulton, Volney messing with Fulton jobs. Oh, we ain't fighting Fulton's jobs. They're coming to Volney asking for our jobs. Miller Brewery, there's something there that still's nagging. I don't think you're going to see that plant down that much. Sure, they'd like to have an EDZ, but there's still the IDA, and the county and the state and senators and all that. Are these people telling me that just because we don't go for EDZ, that they're going to say, oh, we ain't going to help you now with the IDA funds or the other incentives? We're only going to do it because of the EDZ, which falls back onto to property owners again. And like I said, in Syracuse with the EDZ, with them moving out, there's no guarantee that they will stay here if they do get an EDZ if we get another job. One gentleman that called me that got EDZ grants, he was telling how he created jobs. And fine, I asked the gentleman, well, how much do you pay your people? Well, I pay them $5 and I think it's 80 some odd cents. It's the highest in the area. Beautiful. You know, that's good. You brought in jobs with EDZ. Now you tell me, Can a gentleman that has this job at $6 an hour, can he support a family of 3? Can he buy his groceries? Can he pay his Niagara Mohawk bill? No, I don't think they can. And this gentleman told me, well, these are only secondary jobs. Oh, I thought the great American way was that you should try to have a job that's going to support your family. And then jobs are going, on a national level, is just about gone in the United States. They're all going overseas. It's cheaper to produce stuff over there and dump them back here. And as long as we let the higher up people do this, we're going to be in trouble. Welfare, they talk about, Mr. Willie talked about welfare and paying a few more cents on a light bill. The few more cents add up. Over the last 20 years, everybody told me it's only a few more cents. And these few more cents is turning out to be $500, $600, $700 a month. That's even out of my paycheck, that's quite a bundle of pay, let alone somebody that's getting one of these high-paying jobs of $7 or $8 an hour. What we getting into it, what I look at it is in being in manufacturing, we're going back to what we were in the early 1900s, where you had to work 12 hours a day, 14 hours a day for 20 cents an hour. Basically, we're doing the same thing now. The father has to work 2 jobs, and well, first we had father for 1 job, and then the wife working 1 job, and now it's going to be where the father or the wife has to have 2 jobs to make ends meet. You go to a store and notice the people that have to have help buying food because these $7, $8 jobs aren't producing the income to support them. But that's fine because we're helping industry and everything. Industry never had too much problems before 1980. Millers came here in 1974. But all of our industry, when the taxes started getting out of sight and everything, they started moving. And this is what we're left with. People are worrying, the people that caught up in favor of EDZ, they're worried about Reynolds can plant. I believe, even though I don't think the Millers is going to stay down that long, but I believe that if nothing goes into Millers, Reynolds will be out of here in a year's time. What initiative have they got to stay here for producing cans? Because they got 5 other plants that they can combine the services. And as I understand it, they had to buy all 6 plants as a package deal. Maybe they didn't want to buy Fulton plant to begin with, but maybe that was part of the deal. And since 1980, everybody has been against the manufacturing base of our country. They pay too much. We got to knock them down, send them overseas. Now, all these people that never worked in manufacturing, they said that we want to be paid like manufacturing, even though manufacturing brings you new money into your area. And we can afford this, our true welfare, the people that need it, but this working welfare is killing us. It's, if you own a company and you're paying out more than you're taking in, how long are you going to stay in business? And I see a lot of taxpayers with the whole family working to try to make ends meet, and we are asking more and more money from them same people, but we have to subsidize them. Why do we have to subsidize them? Why don't we work and use that energy to maybe make this whole state competitive instead of just certain areas? Right here, I think in the city of Fulton, but I think it was with IDA funds. I haven't had time to check it out completely because I didn't know this. I haven't had time for this meeting here, but I believe your Fulton sheet metal shop is having trouble. They got C&C started up on 2nd Street in Fulton, another tin shop. And all of a sudden, now Fulton Sheet Metal is going under. So there's another fine example of helping one industry and making the other one pay. Somebody's going to close. People are going to get hurt. You know, you might be comfortable now, but it's only a matter of time before it's your time. And I don't think that this is the people that elected me and represented me and talked to me because of this, wants me to stick to my beliefs, and that's how I stand.
Well, Bill, obviously, you and I disagree on this. I think philosophically, I basically agree with you that the state should, in some way, encourage industry across the state. They have one huge EDZ zone. Unfortunately, that's not the reality of life. We're going to be in competition with various different areas of the state for an economic development zone. Those that get the economic development zone are going to be in a much better situation, have a much better standing of drawing industry and drawing business into their community. This is probably one of the few times in my lifetime that I've ever seen labor, small businesses, top management of companies and businesses, service industry persons, and from my point of view, people in the general public that have contacted me all call me and be involved one particular item of saying vote for the EDZ. Now, I've not been keeping a running log of the calls of the people that I have talked to until the ad hit the newspaper, and of course we didn't get the paper until Tuesday, so since Tuesday I've been logging the calls. I haven't had apparently as many calls as the other because I've had 12 calls. Of those 12 calls, 7 were in favor of it and asked me not to change my vote. 2 were residents that were definitely against. 2 people were unsure. At the end I said, what is your recommendation to me? And they said, well, they were unsure as what they wanted me to do. And 1 person who was adamantly opposed was a resident of Hannibal. And those are the calls that I've received since the paper came out. I firmly believe that this will probably be, for this town board, the most significant vote that we're ever going to take in our tenure on this board. And I firmly believe that it very probably is going to be the most significant vote that I'm going to make in the number of years that I've served this community on the town board. I don't know what we're going to do, Bill, because you people to get these jobs or from somewhere, but what are you going to do for the unemployed in the area without the EDZ? If we don't bring industry in, what are you going to do for those particular people? What are we going to do to the person that has to sell their home at a loss and leave this community? I don't know what we're going to do for those particular people because I believe that EDZ gives us a chance. It's not a panacea. It's not going to be a guarantee, but it gives us a fighting chance with the other communities. And without that, Bill, I and the rest of the board, and I'm pleading with you to reconsider your vote because I firmly believe that without this, we are going to be an economically deprived area for quite some time. And I'll stop now and let someone else speak, but I certainly would like some more time later on as we go along.
Do you want to speak, or?
Okay. I found it very interesting that there seems to be such a connection. The people who are interested in EDZs are interested in Volney getting annexed and also don't see why we're so worried about radioactive sludge at the dump. The people that were supposed to be helping us in the county and misled us, didn't tell us what anything was, tried to mislead us about what we needed to do about water and sewer, are the same wonderful, impartial people that make it so we don't need to worry about being involved in this with the city. These things would be on 1 vote from the city, 1 from the county, and 1 from the town. You don't have to be a mathematical wizard to see that we could be outvoted on everything. We asked the city to sell, not give, not take away their life's blood, to sell water and sewer for a mall that would have helped the growth in a rundown city. They have done everything they could to stifle the growth in that city for years. It started way back with urban renewal when they destroyed downtown. It was a thriving downtown when I was in high school. They tore out First Street. They put in a bunch of stupid things in there so you can't get around. The driving is terrible. The parking is terrible. Businesses try to come in, I don't know whose feet they have to kiss, but apparently it's hard to find the right person because the businesses find a hard time coming in. And then when something is going to come in Volney, their big solution is, well, if we can steal some land, it's worth it. Even though it isn't worth letting things come into some of the areas of the town that we weren't willing to develop. There are plenty of benefits for the city with an EDZ. They're where all the poverty is. But are they willing to give us any kind of quid pro quo in this? No. Is the county willing to do anything for us for the fact that they have given us the joy, asked Mr. Osfeld, the joy of having 2 landfills in our town and an incinerator? No. They can't even give us accurate information about how you put in sewer systems. They have been used to taking advantage of Volney. Volney has been like a sleeping giant. We have a lot of good people. We have the population base. We have the financial base. But everybody's been just kind of, take it easy. Things aren't too bad with our taxes. Nobody had any big axe to grind. Well, because of it, the city and the county have been taking advantage of us for years. It's time this giant woke up. All this talk about if we don't have an EDZ, nothing will happen. Why, all you got to do is ask Troutlow. It was in her paper last week how Onondaga County only grew at 1%. And now Oswego County is growing at 2.5%. And it was because of the difference in the taxes and the property costs. It's making it so residents want to come to this area. It's making it so it's worth it for small businesses to move to the area. Open your eyes, people. It's already in the paper. It's already happening. People need to control their budgets and keep the local taxes down so it still is worth it to move out here. We've been doing that in Volney. The city needs to watch their budgets. I'm also very distressed with the coverage that we have gotten from the Valley News. We had a meeting about the type of treatment that we have been getting and felt that some of this stuff should be looked into. We had a resolution, and I'll read it. Whereas a situation involving a possible conflict of interest and conspiracy relevant to property in the town of Volney under the development for a strip mall, commonly known as Kmart Plaza, being developed by the Widewaters Group of Syracuse, New York, is becoming increasingly suspect. And whereas County Attorney Bruce Clark is co-owner of said property, as well as co-petitioner on an annexation request to annex the development into the city of Fulton, while also serving as legal counsel to the county, and whereas the County of Oswego's Industrial Development Agency has recently purchased said property as part of a pilot program agreement with the property developers, be it resolved that the Volney Town Board requests a thorough investigation of the matter to determine possible conflict of interest and conspiracy in said development by both the Oswego County Legislature and the New York State Commission of Investigations. It has been over 2 weeks, and the Valley News has yet to print anything about this. But every time the city sneezes, it is in the paper. Anything that is against the city, anything that is against the county, is not reported on. I think our board should seriously consider changing the paper that is the official paper for Volney, because obviously Volney doesn't exist or matter. That's all my statement for right now.
Jesse, do you have something?
Well, I've had, my wife took a lot of calls because I was working, and she said yesterday there was 30 calls. Well, I took one of them, and 2 of them were asked for me to reconsider how I voted, and the other 28 was not to change the way I voted. I've had a couple today. I talked to some people. Tuesday, I talked to a couple people, and yes, some of these people do not live in the town, but they still are close enough to the area where they have concern about not having an EDZ zone. It's a tough decision to make when you are talking jobs. And you are talking, hopefully to bring businesses or industry in. and they will receive the break on from Niagara Mohawk and all their taxes. They are creating jobs. But we still have to consider, I do anyways, is it in the best interest for the people that are here to where they fought and made things and didn't receive any help? I think, like Jim says, yes, we got to look. The state has got to reconsider what they're doing. They're the ones that are driving our business, our industry out. The federal government, with these agreements, the North American Trade Agreement and everything else, it's hurting everybody in the United States, and it doesn't seem to mind them at all. And I think it's got to start not right down here at the town and the city level, but at that state level, to get their game together, as they call their playing field. I don't mind, you know, we got to help people get started, but I'll probably get a lot of flack on it, but still, I think it's got to start at the state level. They got to change their playing field. And they got to make a statewide EDZ and make it so that everybody can get one. I know it's worked in the city of Oswego. I've talked to people down there. It's really helped some of them expand their businesses. But at the same time, when you've got competition and you've got one business that's open, or industry, and they're not getting any help, and a new one opens, what's it going to do to the existing one? Like Bill said, what's it going to do to them? They got to reduce their forces, and they got to reach in, and how long are they going to be there? That's all.
Okay, as far as I'm concerned for myself, this is a lose-lose situation whether I vote for or against this resolution for an EDZ zone, because my personal feelings on government's role do not allow me to get involved in something where government subsidizes, but that seems to be a fact of life in reality here, that we subsidize just about everything. I mean, we subsidize tobacco, we subsidize farmers, we subsidize the elderly, we subsidize veterans. It just seems like a constant subsidy for just about everybody except for the real working man who's caught in the middle here, I guess. It's a tough decision, and I think there's valid points on both sides of the issue. I could easily go either way. I do have a lot of problems with the way things have been run in this county, as most people probably already know. I'm a little frustrated with the players. They seem to be the same people involved in every aspect of county government, from NBAs to IDAs to CDAs, everything. It just seems to be the same people involved in everything. It would be nice to see different faces on these different committees and different boards, and maybe we'd feel a little more comfortable about handing power over to them. But that, I think, seems to be the biggest problem most of us here are dealing with. As far as holding anybody hostage, I don't have any ill feelings towards Fulton. I said this last week at a meeting. I was born in Fulton. I was educated in Fulton, raised in Fulton. I lived in Granby for 5 years after that, and I've been in Volney the last 20 years, and my immediate loyalties are with Volney for obvious reasons. But I do have a great concern for the area, and I want to see good things happen for everybody. But as far as holding anybody hostage, we're not doing that. If anyone's been held hostage over the years, it's been the town of Volney. Every time we turn around, we're being manipulated and controlled by some other force, mostly the county, with our landfill, our incinerator, airport, other properties that the county owns, doesn't pay a nickel of tax to the town of Volney. The whole county dumps everything they have here that they don't want. We get no benefit for that whatsoever. I mean, we're talking about sharing things, but nobody's sharing with us. They're just taking advantage of us. A mall project started, and we were excited about that, and things started happening. We did all the site plan approvals and most of the work to date, and that now we're being held hostage for that property in a way. I'm just not so sure that the EDZ is actually going to make a difference in that regard, knowing who the players are and who's involved. It's problem I have with justifying right now, I guess, in the whole matter of EDZ is the fact that we're all going to be paying for the ticket, but we may not go on the ride if we don't jump on the EDZ bandwagon. That's the only thing that's difficult to justify a no vote for, because it's a fact. You know, if we vote it down, it's still going to happen. The state's already allocated money for it. Someone's going to get it somewhere in the state, and we're going to share the burden of that here in this area. Is there a trade-off? I'm not so sure, and I wasn't so sure when I voted a few weeks ago. It's really a difficult situation for me personally, even though in a lot of people's minds it's the only way to go. It's just very difficult. You know, there's too many valid points on both sides of the issue for me. And my reasoning before was to send a message to Albany, not to Fulton. There was some question that maybe I had called and challenged the application by Fulton with the state, and that's not true. I'd heard that someone else had called, and I called to check out what was going on. I didn't call to challenge the application. And maybe that was a good thing, because I guess Fulton found out that they couldn't include us without a local law, and they thought that they could. So even though some people were upset with that and thought that I had done something in that regard, it might have been to their benefit anyway, even if I had done that. But in any case, it's just a real difficult thing to decide. And we decided once, and I was comfortable with it at the time, and I'm still comfortable with my own feelings and my philosophies on it. Does anybody else have anything more to say before we?
Well, just a couple of things. Again, I have to say we have to separate the Fulton-Volney annexation issue. It's not even Volney and Fulton. It's a central New York issue. It revolves around this entire area, not only Oswego County, but Onondaga County, Jefferson County, Cuyahoga County. It's something that is going to have a trickle-down effect on all of us. It's going to be devastating for this area if we lose an employer the size of Miller and we don't have an employer that's going to be taking up some of that slack. And the EDZ brings them in. And I firmly believe that it's the one way we have of encouraging industry in. Now, small business, we talk about small business, but small business needs the large industries. They need the people that are drawing the good-sized paychecks. They need them to support them. And it's a trickle-down effect. And for every dollar that's generated out of a large plant, that has a multiplier effect. And I just can't see how we could say that we're going to give this to some other part of the state, because that's what we're going to do. If we say no, another part of the state's going to get it, and we're going to pay for it in our taxes, because we pay state taxes exactly the same as these other areas do, except that they're going to have the industry in their community, and we're not going to have the industry. And I just hope the rest of us on the board, that the rest of you on the board can lay aside this issue of the annexation and the individuals involved, and let's do something that's beneficial for the entire central New York area, not just Volney, and not just Fulton.
I don't see how we can separate the issue when the players are the same. We would have to have this zone administered by the CDA and Operation Oswego County, which are some of the same people that are in the IDA. They are the same people that have misled us before. And I also beg to differ with you about large industry, meaning high paychecks. Well, certainly on the very highest levels of management, it always means that, but it does not mean that necessarily for the regular worker. I'm a tax accountant. I do over 1,200 tax returns a year. And I know from personal experience that there are people who make garbage, who work for big companies, and there are people who work for very tiny companies who make a very nice wage. It varies. It varies by the type of business. It depends on the philosophy of the people who run the business. And the largest area of growth of jobs in this country is small business. We should be doing things in our zoning and doing things with keeping our taxes down to make it easier for the growth of small business, because that is where the future of this area is. The big mega giants will hop from one area to the other. The small businesses are the ones that were started with a tie to the area, and the chance of them leaving is very slight.
I'd just like to say, Jim, with jobs,
Pardon me?
with jobs, you're sitting there telling us, are you guaranteeing us that we're going to be in EDZ and that we got guaranteed high-paying jobs coming in?
Absolutely not, Bill, and I think that I asked you the same question first, because without the EDZ, I don't see how there will be an incentive for industry to come in.
Well,
I believe that we will encourage industry to come in. I believe that we will have industry that will come in, that will supply our people with a living wage. I firmly believe that's what the EDZ is going to do. We're going to have 3 people on that board that are actually going to appoint the others. You're going to have your Fulton mayor, you're going to have your Volney town supervisor, you're going to have the chairman of your county legislature. I don't see it as 2 to 1. If those 3 people are going to have to work quite closely together, and I firmly believe that they will, and I think that they can, and I believe that Howard's going to certainly represent our best interests on that board, and I think that he'll keep the other people in line. And I firmly believe that, and I think that the 3 of them are going to be an equal group there. And I believe that we're going to bring some things in, Bill. Your way, there's nothing. We've said to industry, we don't want you. That's the message we've sent to industry, and that's what we're basically telling, I believe, our people that might want to come in that would bring industry in. If we vote against an EDZ, we're really saying the larger companies, go find someone else because they've got the EDZ. They're going to give you the money to come in. That's what I think we're saying. Now, maybe we're not, but I believe we are.
You don't work for the manufacturing industry. You work for the taxpayers, right? You know, all 2 of your jobs, you work
Bill,
for
but I don't work, but you work for Chrysler, so you tell me how many subsidies Chrysler's had. Without the subsidies of the government, Chrysler would be gone. And you know it, and I know it, and that's where you draw your salary. Yes, I'm a public employee.
Chrysler never got, if you're talking about the loan guarantees in 1980, that was all that was. They were co-signers. All that money, Chrysler's the only industry that ever paid back money that they borrowed.
They paid it
And they're
back.
still in New York State, but I don't know for how much longer. There used to be, in this country, you used to go to work for a corporation, you could think you could retire from it. But now with all these programs, when you go to a new company and get hired, you just might as well figure that you're not going to be staying there for your 30 or 40-year working life. And this is not only here in Fulton or Oswego or whatever, even in our state capital in Albany, in Thursday's paper, Key Corporation is moving out of here. 1,600 jobs out of New York State because they can go to Cleveland, Ohio and pay $10 million less in taxes. You know?
They've got an EDZs on.
Huh?
They probably have an EDZ there in Ohio because they're encouraging them in. There's some reason they're going there.
Well,
They have lower taxes.
I guess statewide. This, you were bring up I guess you bring up the annexation issue, but one of the things from the telephone calls I got was kind of interesting. Somebody said that this would never happen if the water district went in effect. And it kind of reminds you of back in before my time, probably in the 1800s, of the rancher that owned the creek. He ran the valley. And the water district thing here is one problem with it. The county didn't want to own the source of water. They were going to be buying it from another owner of the water. And a perfect example of what happens when you put yourself at the mercy of somebody that sells water is the city of Fulton. This gentleman got an EDZ fund down in Oswego, told me that, well, geez, the mall asked to be annexed in the city. And he said, I said, well, gee, why did they ask? He said, I don't know, I guess because they want to go in there. I said, all right. They were told that they wanted water for the mall. Fulton owns the water. They supply the water. Fulton wants a 3% sales tax. They told the mall people, we'll give you, you come in the city and we'll give you all the water you want. So this is what would have happened with your county water district. As long as you don't own your source of your water or your product, you're in trouble. And I don't believe that would help this situation one bit, because Miller has already set up for their own water, waste treatment, and planting like that. I can't get the answer. As a matter of fact, I think we even have an employee in our town that lost his job to the EDZ, the dog catcher. he worked at Fisher Body, and he lost his job. And his plant had the EDZ funds. Did that keep General Motors in Salinas? But we're still paying for them. We should be doing away with this stuff. Somewhere you got to get people to start. They ask us to make a change. The people in the past, we've given them a number of chances, more and more chances. The great dream of the early 70s for the city of Fulton was downtown Fulton. These same people were telling us, or people at that time was telling us how great, if you got vision, that downtown Fulton is going to be the most modern shopping place here in central New York. Today, 20 years later, is it the best place in town? I don't know. I don't see too many stores down there. I see some offices down there. And I see too many things going on. You talk about big business and everything. We have in our international union, it's called divide and conquer. I mean, this is about what they do to the regular workers. They try to pit people against people, and you got your people that are going to benefit from this, that tells you how good it is, and you got other people that will stick by and say, well, gloom and doom, you know, you're never going to get no place, people are never going to come in. But I have faith in the system that we do have, besides the EDC, that it will work. And
So
if you want to bring more jobs in, you ought to start with your public factor is going to have to start working, realizing that they don't bring in new money into this country, in our tax base. All they're using is recycling money. Your manufacturing jobs bring in new money. Your people are your employers, and they have to pay these people, and these people that are spending the money is spending more than they are making.
Bill, that's the best argument you've made for my side.
Not for the
You're bringing
EDZ,
in
it ain't.
manufacturing jobs. That's what I've said.
You're not going to get them,
You've reinforced
Jim, because they're gone. Like it or not.
They're gone now, but with EDZ, I believe we can entice them back, entice back some. It's no guarantee, but it's sure an awful lot better than what we're going to have if we say no.
Now, you guarantee me the jobs, and it'd be good. Even Niagara Mohawk's own words here, for a family of 4 members, they will give you a help a heap if you make $14 an hour. Are we going to get any, you know, you have to get a lot of good industry in here that pays that much, so you could get off that subsidiaries. Isn't that telling you something, that the rates are too high right there? That when you got to subsidize all these people?
Bill, we're going to be subsidizing, I'm afraid, an awful lot more, and we're going to be, the 900 people that are out of job, it's going to be a domino effect, I'm afraid. I'm afraid that it's going to affect A and affect B and affect C, and it's going to go throughout this entire, not Volney, Fulton, but this entire central New York region. I'm afraid this is going to happen. I think that it's going to hurt your housing industry. I think it's going to hurt everyone that makes your small service industry, because one of the people that called me was a hairdresser. Well, she said, look, I run a small shop, but people aren't going to get their hair done if they don't have dollars. And that's going to be the first thing that people do, are those luxury, if you will, luxury items. And I'm not saying that that's a true luxury item, but things of that nature certainly are going to be the first to go. And those little industries are what, I agree with you, are the backbone of our community, but we need the other ones so that people have a place where they can make the money, where they can spend in those industries. I firmly believe that.
Like you've been in politics for a good many years saying the same thing, and I see a lot of people working 2 or 3 jobs with all these promises that have been made in the past that hasn't come to fruit. Are we going to keep on continuing doing the same thing, or are we going to start, you know, trying to get people involved? If they want to work this hard for EDZ, why don't they work to help lower rates on everything? Instead of looking for the handouts. When the bottom line is a small person that ends up paying.
I'd rather pay some more in taxes and some more in my utility bill and have the rest of the people in my community have the dignity of having a good job and having the dignity of being able to walk down to the grocery store and pay for their necessary items and so forth, than I would to sit here and say, well, we're subsidizing all these people. We're going to subsidize one way or another. I'd rather subsidize a few bucks out of my pocket and have everyone have the opportunity to have a decent job and be able to earn a decent living.
What I think they ought to do is quit having so much of this money that they collect under pilot plans entirely go to the IDA and none of it go back into the general county tax fund, which most people don't realize. Out of the millions of dollars collected under pilot plans in this county, only $100,000 last year went back to the county to help reduce your county tax bill. And at the same time, with the other hand, they took $200,000 for administrative costs for that department. If that money, instead of being used as a slush fund in the IDA, they only took maybe 10% for revolving loan fund, they took the other 90% and had it reduce our county taxes, maybe then Niagara Mohawk, as in this letter that they sent to our assessors, until utility customers can no longer afford the burden of property or other hidden taxes in their utility bills, nor will the ever-increasing competitive marketplace support the burden. Niagara Mohawk cannot reduce its rates to meet the prices offered by competitors as long as its taxes are so much higher than the taxes paid by its competitors. Therefore, Niagara Mohawk Power Corporation would like to see a system of property taxation in New York State that reflects the current and future economics of the competitive electric and gas industries, as well as local governments reducing their dependence on utility property taxes so that they cannot sustain the hardship in the event of the contributions of utility taxes diminishes or ceases. The county might better be putting their efforts into changing the way the IDA is using their money, lower the county tax burden on Niagara Mohawk, and then Niagara Mohawk can charge less to everyone and make all of Oswego County an economic development zone.
One of the things that we said at our last meeting, and I'll repeat again, was that we wanted to send a message to Albany, and I see we do have our representative from Albany here, Fran Sullivan. Thank you for coming, Fran, and I hope that you will carry our message back to Albany, regardless of our final vote here today. We're very concerned about that issue. Is there any more discussion?
It's time to call for a vote, I would think.
Well, we need a motion to call for a vote. Our first motion was just to discuss rescinding it.
All right, then. We do have a copy of the local law number 2 of 1994. Is this the one that we're...
That's the model that it was
Jeff
suggested that we use, right?
Yes. Then would it be proper to read this into the minutes? And if so, I will make this as a form of a motion.
It's your choice, Jim.
I would move that we adopt local law number 2 of 1994. A local law authorizing the supervisor of the town of Volney to execute the appropriate application to the state of New York for the establishment of an economic development zone in the town of Volney and the city of Fulton. Be it enacted by the town of Volney Town Council as follows. 1. Town of Volney Town Council hereby finds it appropriate that an economic development zone be established in portions of the town of Volney and the city of Fulton. 2. The town of Volney hereby authorizes the supervisor of the town of Volney to make application to the state of New York for the establishment of said economic development zone as set forth in Exhibit A attached hereto. 3. The Economic Development Board shall consist of the following. 1. Mayor of the city of Fulton or designee. 2. Chairman of the Oswego County Legislature or designee. 3. Town of Volney Supervisor or designee. 4. President of Operation Oswego County. The following six members to be appointed by a majority of the mayor of the city of Fulton, the supervisor of the town of Volney, and the chairman of the Oswego County Legislature. A representative from education, a labor union official, a representative from private industry council, a resident of the economic development zone, a banking financial official, a representative from zone business. Item 4. The Chamberlain of the City of Fulton is hereby designated zone certifier the official for certifying with the State Commissioner of Economic Development and Labor the eligibility of business enterprises for the various benefits available through state law creating the zone. This local law shall take effect immediately, and there is an attachment and an Exhibit A that would also be a part of this, and I don't see any, it's boilerplate that I don't think needs reading. It sets out the designated areas, or should I read it in?
I think you better read it in.
Okay? The designated economic development zone contains areas within the city of Fulton and the town of Volney. The general description of the areas within the city of Fulton includes areas within Census Tract 211.01 in the northeast and Census Tract 211.02 in the southeast quadrants of the city, beginning at a point at the east side of Oneida Street Bridge, running north along the Oswego River to North First Street, then proceeding east parallel to the Conrail Railroad ROW to North Fremont Street, then east along Fremont Street to North 5th Street and south along North 5th Street to Ontario Street, then west 1 block to North 4th Street, proceeding south to Buffalo Street, and west 1 block to 3rd Street, then proceeding south on North 3rd Street to East Broadway, then east on East Broadway 1 block to Park Street, south 1 block on Park to State Street, and west 1 block on State Street to South 2nd Street. Then south along South 2nd to Division Street, east on Division to South 5th Street, then south 1 block to Lion Street, and east to South 7th Street. Then turning south along the southeast city boundary line to a point where Route 481 and South 1st Streets intersect. Then proceeding north on South 1st Street to the northern boundary, Palmer Chevrolet to the Oswego River, north along the river to the Broadway Bridge. The zone boundary then proceeds west across the Broadway Bridge to include areas in the northwest and southwest quadrants of the city located in Census Tracts 211.03 and 211.04. South parallel to the Oswego River to Pine Street, then west on Pine Street to West 2nd Street, south along 2nd Street, 4 blocks to the intersection of West 2nd and Cedar Streets, running 1 block on Cedar Street to the West 3rd Street intersection. Then turning north on West 3rd Street to West Broadway, turning west on West Broadway and running along New York State Route 3 to the city boundary, then turning north along the city boundary, following West 11th Street to Hannibal Street. East on Hannibal Street, then following Tannery Lane in an irregular loop to Hannibal Street. Then proceeding east on Hannibal to the point where Conrail Railroad tracks cross Hannibal. Then south along the Conrail Railroad tracks to Phillips Street, east on Phillips Street to West 2nd Street, and north on West 2nd Street to Schuyler Street. Then 1 block west on Schuyler to West 3rd Street, and north 1 block on West 3rd Street to Gansfort Street. Then east on Gansfort Street across the Oneida Street Bridge to the beginning point of the east side of the Oneida Street Bridge. A subzone in the town of Volney will include parts of the Miller Brewery and Reynolds Metals can plant properties, bounded by Owen Road on the south from Route 57 west along Owen Road to the Conrail Railroad tracks, north to Route 481, west to Route 57, north to the Reynolds Metal northern property line, turning south along the same property line to Route 57. And I so move.
Do I hear a second?
Okay.
Doesn't appear that we have a second, Jim.
Motion would die for want of a second.
I guess that's it, folks. The zone has not been approved.
Move to adjourn.
Barb, you poll the council?
Pierce?
Aye.
Counselor Ridgway?
Aye.
Counselor Smart? Counselor Warner? Supervisor Rose?
Aye.